What's up guys, it is Casey with a Blender tutorial for you today. Yes, I am back. It has been many a month and I've gone through a million different video editors. You can see now, hopefully, I've recorded this video like 8 times and I have problems every time, but I now have my hotkeys down here at the bottom, or my screencast keys at the bottom, since they removed it from Blender. So hopefully you guys can follow along a little easier. And let's go ahead and get started. Today we're going to be working on making bricks. I don't think we're going to really be making anything with the bricks because unfortunately it'd probably take a really long time, a lot longer than a tutorial should really last, to make anything with them. And you will find out why when we start making them. But I will show you how to get started making them, and you can see what you come up with. So let's go ahead and do this. So for once we're going to keep our default cube, and I'm going to my front orthographic view. That was 1 and 5 on my numpad, and we're gonna keep this cube like I said, but we're going to scale it to be about the size of a brick. So I'm gonna scale this down something like that, tab into edit mode, and I'm gonna go ahead and select these. We're just gonna drag it out something like that so that we have a brick. And that's it, we're done. No, I'm just teasing you guys. Anyways, now that we have one brick, we need to make mini bricks. So in order to do that, my mouse is flickering like crazy. I don't know what it's doing. For some reason my whole computer is like running slow. Ugh. It's always a problem with something. Let's keep plugging along, hope that this works. Anyways, I'm over here in my wrench tab, that's our modifiers tab, and I'm going to add a modifier, and we're going to click array. Dun dun dun. So if you didn't notice already, you can see that the array modifier basically just duplicates our object directly next to our object. And that's a good idea for what we're doing with bricks, except we need to adjust it a little because there's space in between bricks. They're not directly right next to each other. So in order to do that, we're already on our x-axis, which we want. We're just going to up it a little bit. We're at 1.1 and that looks pretty good. So now that we are at 1.1 on our x-axis, we can go up here to the count, and that is the number of iterations of this object that we're going to create. And for this tutorial, let's just go with let's go with 5. I don't want to do anything too big because this process can take quite a while if you're not careful. Okay, so once you have your 5 bricks like this, we're going to hit that little arrow that's going to drop this box down so it's not in our way, and we're going to add another array modifier. But for right now, let's just set the count down to 1, because what we actually want to do now is duplicate this. So let's click on it, Shift D, and I'm going to grab it on the Y axis, and we're just going to eyeball the space here, something like that. So we're trying to get kind of equal distance between these as there is for the array modifier here, if that makes any sense. But it's not a huge deal. We're going to go back up to that first array modifier for this one, and we're going to set it to 6. And the reason for that is we're going to actually reposition this a bit on the x-axis. So I'm going to grab on the x-axis, and we're going to reposition somewhere right about in there. Perfect. So now that we have this reposition, we just need to actually kind of mess with these bricks a little bit. Obviously this brick is sticking out, this brick is really sticking out, so we need to adjust that. And we will do that, but we're not going to do it yet. Not yet. Because it's going to be difficult if we do it right now, and we can do it easier if we wait. So now we're just going to click on that first brick again. We're going to Shift D on the y-axis, and again, just eyeball it, see if we can get it somewhere close. And once again, we need to set this to 6 for our count, and grab it on the x-axis, and we're just going to reposition it wherever it looks Nice. Which is probably right about in here. Is that too much of a step ladder type deal? No, I think that's about right. Maybe just reposition this one a little bit closer. No, a little bit further. Like that, and then a little bit like this. Is that too much? Well, I'm never happy with these. So anyways, you're just, you know, you're kind of making these lines in between. You're making them a little misstepped. You're not making them perfect. So anyways, we're now back at our first set of bricks here. And we're going to that second array modifier we had. And we're going to now increase it on the y-axis instead of the x-axis. So you can see over here that there's an x, y, and a z-axis. That's telling you what direction to duplicate your object. And it is default to 1 in the x direction. We do not want x, so we're going to click on this, set it to 0, like that. So now it is no longer duplicating on the x-axis. Instead, we want it to duplicate on the y-axis. So right here, I'm going to set it starting at 3. We're going to have to mess with it, and then we can change our count to 2. Okay, you can see that it's laying on top of this other set of bricks, so we need to adjust our y-axis again. So 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 looks about right. 8's a bit much. I mean, you could do like a 375, I guess. 3.75. Yeah, that's probably about right in there. So I set my y-axis to 3.75. Your numbers over here, they may not match mine entirely. It is just based on what I'm eyeballing, pretty much. But you can see that we're starting to get a nice brick pattern here. So now we're going to click on this second set of bricks, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're down here in our second array modifier, and we're going to get rid of that one. And let's try 3.75 and see if that works. Looks pretty good. So now up here to our third set of bricks, do the same thing. And we're going to go into here, get rid of the x-axis, and set our y to 3.75 and increase the count. And I think we are pretty much good. So now that we have that, the next thing that we want to do is you want to click on our first set of bricks, tab into edit mode, make sure that you hit the A key to deselect all, and then the A key again to select all. Now that's going to select that entire first vertice, or that all of the vertices, so that we can subdivide it. Now, I want to explain to you before we go too much farther that when we tab into edit mode, all of these duplicate objects are not in edit mode. That's important to keep in mind. The way that an array modifier works is that it duplicates your first object multiple times across axes, and you can edit all of them at the same time. So if let's see, if I just grab one of these vertices for now and I start to move it around, you can see that it begins to move all of my bricks that are attached to that array modifier. That's important to keep in mind. We will get rid of those array modifiers later, but for right now, we will make things easy on ourselves and use them to our advantage. So now that we have all of our vertices selected, we're going to subdivide. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Before we subdivide, let's loop cut it. I'm just going to loop cut it once down the center. Now the idea behind a loop cut for this is you're trying to get each of these faces to be kind of square, which I guess they're still not. Maybe I could loop cut it twice. Does that make it better? Yeah, I guess 2 loop cuts is probably closer. We're just trying to make these faces square so that our subdivisions work out a little cleaner, a little nicer. So now that I have 2 of my loop cuts, my faces are fairly square. I'll select everything, subdivide, and I think we're going to do by 5. Yeah, 5 is probably right. So now that I've subdivided by 5, the last thing that I want to do is I want to hit U and Smart UV project. And click OK, and tab out of edit mode. So now that we have done that, all of the bricks in this series are exactly the same. So this brick has been subdivided and unwrapped. This brick has been subdivided and unwrapped. And this brick, and this one, 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 and this one. So they've all done it at the same time. It's important to remember that, because later when we get rid of our array modifiers, and I will explain that later, but when we do, all of these will be subdivided. We won't have to come back and do them all individually. So now that we have that, let's click on our next set of bricks and do the same thing. So we're going to click in here, and let's loop cut it twice, and select it all, subdivide, and let's subdivide it by 5. Oop, and don't forget to unwrap it, like I almost did. And then we'll select our last set of bricks, do the same thing, loop cut it twice, and select them all, subdivide, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And last but not least, let's UV unwrap it like that. Good. So now that we have that, now we actually have to apply our array modifiers. This is where things can get a little bit tricky. Now, real quick, I guess, before we do apply our array modifiers, we need to fix our point of origins. You can see that the point of origin for this block here is kind of off to the side. Same for that one, same for this one. So we're just going to click on one of these bricks, hit Shift, Control, Alt, C all at the same time, and then we're going to click on origin to center of mass. That's going to put that dot right in the center. I think we're going to have to fix all of these eventually, because I think when I apply this array modifier, array modifier, it's going to put that point of origin all the way over here for each of these bricks. But we'll try it and see what happens. So Shift, Control, Alt, C, center of mass, Shift, Control, Alt, C, center of mass. So now that we have those, we can actually apply our array modifier. So let's go over here and let's apply the first one. And let's go back here. We got to apply this very top one first. So apply that one, and then apply that one. And then we'll do the same for this one. We will grab the first one, apply, apply, and the last one, and we will hit apply, apply. And there's a couple reasons why we're applying the array modifier. One of them is that it gives us more control over our bricks. Another thing is that it's going to give us a bit of randomness to our bricks. So let's go ahead and tab into edit mode. And you can see that all of these bricks are still one object, but you can now actually mess with them a little bit. You can edit them. They are in your edit mode. However, still not going to be good enough for me. So what we're going to have to do is hit the A key to select everything. Hit the P key to bring up your separate menu. And then we're going to go by loose parts. Just like that. So now, if I can get a better angle of this for you, every one of these bricks are now its own separate object. Just like that. Boom, 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 and boom. And that's exactly what we're looking for. We're going to have to do that to the next two set of bricks. So let's grab this one, tab into edit mode, P, by loose parts. And the last one, P, by loose parts. So now every single brick that we have on our field is separated into its own brick. Now there are multiple reasons that we do this, like I said. One of them is going to be our material setup later on, which we will get to. But first, one of the main reasons that we do it is so that we can actually line these bricks up. So let's go to our top view. Let's go down here And we're going to line them all up with this first set of bricks right here. So we're going to click on this little magnet button down here. That's going to let our editing snap to different selections. So let me grab this brick here. I'm going to tab into edit mode. And it looks like we're close to lined up. So you can see right about here is where our vertice is at. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of these vertices, X to delete, and we're going to delete those vertices. Now, one last thing that you need is to put a face on here. And if you really want to do it correctly, you're going to have to extrude these and make a decent face out of it. I forgot about this part. This part sucks. Okay, well, let's go ahead and do it. So let's click on the little magnet key. And the drop down box right next to it, click on vertex. So now when we extrude this vertice, we're going to extrude it on the y-axis. So E, Y, and then we're going to hover over this vertice right here. Boom. That means it is now lined up perfectly with that top vertice, which is exactly what we want. Do it again. Extrude Y over this vertice. Extrude Y over that vertice. Extrude Y over this vertice. Extrude Y that one. And we should be good because we can select these ones and just hit F. So now we just need to go through here and make faces on all of these. Like that. And, oops, that. And this one. And I'm selecting random vertices here. There we go. And grab these ones like that. And that's our first top shelf here. Phew. This is going to be rough. I wonder if I can speed this up. Let's see. Let's see what we can do here. If I shift D on the Z-axis. Did that work? Did that work? No way. It worked. It does speed it up. Yay. Okay, so what I did there was I just went to my face select mode. I selected all of my faces. And then this little button down here that has the two arrows pointing together means when one vertex is directly over the top of another vertex, they become one. So I basically just shift D to duplicate it on the Z-axis and then snap it to that bottom vertex and boop, it just joins them all together. Sweet. That's a little bit easier than the other way that I was doing it. So shift D on the Z-axis, pop it down, and shift D on the Z, pop that one down, and last one, shift D on the Z-axis, pop it down, and we should be good to go. Dun dun dun. Okay, so the last thing that we need to do, go back to your vertex selection. Get rid of these two arrows that are joining your vertices together. We don't want any of that stuff on right now. We're just going to grab this last row of vertices here. We're going to grab them on the x-axis and snap them directly where this other brick ends. So now if you pop out of edit mode, you can see we are perfectly lined up on this side. We have the face on our brick and everything is right with the world. Yay. So now if you want to make this a little easier, we can actually just get rid of this brick because this brick and that brick are the same. So let's delete that. And then we will shift D on the y-axis. And let's see if it'll line up anywhere. Right there. Boom. Perfect. Done. Haha. Easy enough, right? So now we got to do it to this last brick here. On this side anyways. Probably won't mess with this side because this takes a long time. Anyways. So here we go. Let's, for right now, I'm going to unselect my magnet. I'm going to go down here into my edit mode and grab these vertices, delete those, and now I need my magnet on. So on this one, I don't know, let's just be different. So let's extrude on the Z-axis this time. extrude on the Z, extrude on the Z. What did I do? Grab on the Z, nope. Extrude on the Z, like that. Extrude Z there, extrude Z there. And then I'll grab these. Ugh, I keep grabbing the wrong vertices. There we go. Like that. And that. And there. And that one. And that one. So now I should be able to join these together. Go to my face select mode. And Shift D, pull it up. There's something wrong with this. It's too easy. There's like a hidden face or a hidden edge or something that it's creating. I don't know what it's doing. You can see that it's like selecting the edges of this, which means there's something there. I don't know what it is, but I'm not going to worry about it. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. Hopefully. Hopefully, because this method is a little bit easier than extruding everything like I was doing before. Okay, so now we're at the top. Grab that and grab it on the x-axis. Snap it right there. Right like that. Dun dun dun. And one thing I forgot to mention that we should have done. Actually, hold on. Let's do this first. Let's get rid of this brick. And then we'll duplicate this one. Not on the z-axis. On the y-axis. And snap it into place. So, just like that, we have our bricks all lined up on this side. They're nice and spread out. Got our nice gap in between. I'm not going to worry about this side. I mean, obviously, in a project you probably would. But because this is a tutorial and I don't want to waste your time, we're just going to do this left side. Okay, so now we need to adjust these points of origin, because when the points of origin are off, like they are right now, when you start to get this involved in a big scene, you're going to begin to select basically everything that you don't want to select, because Blender gets really confused. I don't know why, but every time you go to select something in your scene, you'll select one of your bricks, and it's a giant pain, worst thing ever. So let's just click that one, Shift, Control, Alt, C, center of mass. And it's going to be that way for every single one of these bricks. You can see they are all completely wrong. Like that. And to save some time, I'm not going to finish this out. But you guys get the idea that you want to make sure that the center of mass is correct. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to actually deform these bricks. We want them to be different than each other. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to select a brick and add a modifier, go to Displace, and right here under Texture we're going to click New. Then we're going to go over to our Textures tab, make sure that this drop down box says Displace, and we're going to change this to Clouds. And you can see the kind of distortion that it gives us. It's obviously too strong right now, but it's not bad. Let's see, let's go back to our tab here, our modifier tab, and let's adjust the strength down. Oh, let's see, 0.3 isn't too bad. Let's smooth shade it. We need to smooth shade it. Let's try an edge split modifier, see what it looks like. I think it's a little too much still, so let's go down one. 0.2 is probably about right on that one. Okay, so now that we have the first brick displaced, we can do the second brick. So the idea here is that you want every single one of these bricks to be just a little bit different. Now, this is one of the reasons that I told you that we were applying our array modifiers. Ah, see? See? I told you it was doing something funky. These edges are off. Ugh. Whatever. Anyways, One of the reasons that we applied our array modifiers and got different objects for each of these is so that we can go through here and do this, adding displacement to each one of these and making that displacement a little bit different. It gives a lot of randomness to the bricks. So if we add another displacement modifier, we're going to click on New again, go to our Textures tab, click on Clouds. Now this time you might decrease the size to 0.15 and then just go back, and we're going to start to decrease the strength. Maybe keep it at a 0.2. We'll smooth that and add another edge split like that. And you can see that we have two different looking bricks. We have two differently displaced bricks. And let's do the next one. So let's add another modifier, displace, new, click on that Textures tab, and let's go to Clouds. And this time let's just change it from Blender Original to something like, I don't know, Voronoi F1. And we'll go back, decrease the strength to about a 0.2. Maybe this one we want to be a little rougher, so we'll go 0.3. Then we'll smooth shade it, add an edge split, and we have another different brick. Now you would normally want to go through and do this for about 5 different bricks. So this bottom one, if you have a different displacement for every single one of these bricks, then you can go to your next section and just start applying those 5 randomly. So watch what I do up here. If I click on this brick and I go to Add Modifier, click Displace, I can now select those different textures from this drop down box. So if I select that texture 2 and then readjust the strength, bring it down to a 0.2, smooth it, and edge split it like that. So now this one is copying this brick here in the displacement. It's a little bit different because it's a little bit of a different sized brick. We've changed the strength from a 0.3 to a 0.2, and we didn't have to touch our actual displacement modifier at all. We just used one we already had. So we can do that for the second one. So let's add displacement, and let's grab that first displacement texture. We'll bring this one down. We'll make this one a real smooth brick. There's a 0.1. Let's smooth it out. Add an edge split modifier, and it just gives that little slight displacement to that one. And doing this with every one of these bricks, it takes some time. I'm not going to lie. It definitely requires some patience. But it will make your bricks look a lot more realistic because each one is going to be just a little bit different, a little more random. I'm not going to finish these out because you get the idea. We don't need to finish them out because you already know what's going on. So the last thing that we want to do before we really move on here to the materials is that we want to add our mortar underneath these bricks. So let's Shift A, add a mesh plane. And I'm gonna, whoops, grab that on the wrong side, make sure my little magnet's not selected. We're gonna bring this up on the y-axis. Now you can see I'm leaving just a little bit of the brick out on the bottom. Not too much, just a little bit. And we're gonna do the same on the side. So let's grab it and bring it up somewhere right about in there, so that we get these real nice kind of thick bricks sticking out of the wall. You can make that shallower, make real shallow bricks, or you could make it real deep bricks, however you want to do it. This is just how I like to do it, I guess. So I'm just going to pull this out right about there. I'll tab in edit mode, and we'll reposition this up right about there, and then we'll position this out, grab it on the X, and it only needs to be about right there. Okay, so once you have your mortar, I mean, you could leave it like this if you wanted to, just leave it as a plane. Honestly, that's usually what I do because it doesn't make a huge difference to your model if you just leave it flat. However, you could select it all, subdivide it, and in this case you're going to have to subdivide a lot, like 20, 30, 40 times, something crazy. But then you could add a displacement modifier like this. And I'll just select one of the older ones I've got. Smooth it. Lower that strength down until you cannot see it over the bricks, which is about a 0.1. And it just gives you that little bit of a roughness to your mortar, which is really nice. I mean, if you want to do it that way. I find that it's not visible enough to mess with, but if you wanted to, you could. And the material for this is super easy. Just click new on material and then just make it gray, whatever gray color you want. And I mean, your mortar doesn't have to be anything fancy. It's mortar. Don't mess with it if you don't have to. So now we're going to get into the actual material of our bricks. So let's go ahead and click over here to our compositor and make sure we add a material for our bricks. I will rename it to brick. And you're not supposed to see this yet. Don't look at it. Okay, so the material that you do for the bricks can be pretty complex or it can be really simple. It just kind of depends on what you want to do. However, there's a thing that you absolutely have to do, which is this. You have to add in, and you have to put in an input and object info node, because that gives us our random output. Then we're going to add a converter color ramp and plug that random into the factor, plug the color output into the color here. Now if you want, you could leave it like this and have different shades of grays and blacks. There's something that I actually like to do a little bit different, so let me go in here and see if I can find it. Color palette, I think, is where it's at. Is it? Is it in here? It's not in here. Let's go textures. Let's go stone. Let's try stone. Aha. So I'm just going to grab this brick texture that I have here, and I'm just going to select some colors from it. And before I get too far, let's change this color ramp from linear to constant. And let's add in 2 more ramps, 2 more points. Something like this. Just kind of spreading them out so that they're evenly spaced. Doesn't have to be perfect. Something like that. And then we're going to select each color off of this brick wall. So I've got like a tannish red color there. Got this nice kind of deep red. I will take a lighter color, this sort of lightish grayish tan. And then I will take this sort of darker gray tan. There we go. So let me explain this now that we've done this. The random output for the object info node is going to randomly select one of these 4 colors for our bricks every time it notices that it is working on a new object. So this does not work if you leave your bricks in the array modifiers, because every brick in the array will have the same color. It will not give each of those a different random color because they're all considered one object. So that's why we have to apply our array modifier for sure, absolutely, because you need this random. Now if you really wanted to like get in depth with this, I suppose you could separate all of these, use the random modifier, see what it renders out to, make a note of it, and then just go back in and apply a different color for each of these. However, that's a giant pain considering the lesser evil of the two is to do it this way. So the next thing that we're going to do is click on add shader, mix shader, and add shader glossy shader, and plug that in. I'm just going to make, oh, not that one. We're going to add in an input fresnel node and plug it into the factor. So what that's going to do, the fresnel node actually gives you a different factor value for this mix shader depending on the angle of the object to the camera, or the angle of the camera to the object, whatever you want to say. Basically that means if you're looking at this object straight on, you will not see any gloss, but if you're looking at it from an angle, you will see a lot of gloss. So this Fresnel node actually is pretty good for bricks because that's kind of the way that they are. You really don't see any gloss on them unless they're covered in some sort of a glossy sealer, until you look at it at an angle or from the side. Then you'll start to see a little bit. So that's why I'm using that. And the last thing that we want to do here is add an texture, image texture. And I'm using this gravel texture. Now let me see if I can bring this up for you. It looks like this. I got this off of cgtextures.com. It's free. Just type in gravel. I'm sure you'll find it. I know they just recently changed their site around, and it's weird, and it used to be unlimited downloads on low quality textures, and now it's not. Now you're limited. But if you go to CG Textures, I'm sure you'll find this gravel texture. So I have it in my image texture here. I'm just going to add a converter math node and plug it into the top, change that math node to multiply, and I think I want to set this down to like a 0.1. And I'm going to plug that into my displacement. So what that's going to do is it's going to give just a slight hint of that gravelly look to our bricks, which is what we want. So that is it. That's all we needed to do. With that, you should be able to make pretty much anything that you could want with bricks. You could make a brick pathway. You could make a brick house. You could make a brick fireplace, brick walls, brick, whatever it is that you want to make out of bricks. It's super easy. And once you get a section built like this, like a wall of it, I mean, you can even take it like this and select a large portion of it, and then you can like duplicate it, not on the z-axis, I don't know why I keep doing the z-axis, but you can duplicate it like this, rotate it on the y by 90 degrees, grab it on the x-axis and pull it in here like that, pull it down, get it as close as we can here like that, and just like that you have two separate brick walls conjoining each other. Super, 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 super easy. And the reason I do bricks like this is because I find that using a texture and some displacement with a good material, things like of that nature, using an image over the top of just a plane, it does not give the best looking results. From far away it's not bad, but as soon as you get close up it just doesn't look good enough. It doesn't look good enough. So I make all of my bricks individually like this. And I'm going to show you, because my computer is too slow to render while I'm capturing my video, I already have my fireplace that I made earlier rendered out. So let's go ahead and show you that, which you already got a sneak peek of. But let me show you. There is the fireplace that I made. Now, I would suggest when you make a fireplace like this, if you're doing it, I probably should have maybe lessened my displacement texture just a little bit. It looks a little strong, but you can see how this all works out. You know, it's got random colors for all of the bricks. It's got good lighting, good shadow. There's a shadow on every single one of these bricks. The mortar is nice in the background of it. I think I removed my Fresnel node because it was getting in the way of the rest of my project, so you don't see that gloss that you should see. However, the way we made ours, you will see that gloss. I added this little bit of hearthstone here at the bottom. I mean, in the full project, I even have a fire going in the fireplace, and it's in a log cabin, but I won't show you that one because that was not done with that project yet. Anyways, I hope you guys learned something. I hope you enjoyed, and I cannot wait to see what you guys make with your bricks. Thanks for watching.